What's going on, guys? Seth here in the parking lot of the movie theater. I just got out of seeing Blair Witch. Okay, right off the bat, I was very, very excited for this film. I am a massive fan of the original Blair Witch Project from 1999. That other sequel doesn't count, Book of Shadows. We don't speak of that shit. So when I saw that this was coming out, I was very, very excited. Not that I thought that the original needed a direct sequel or anything, but to, see Blair Witch back, in cinemas again and see that kind of back in the spotlight, I was stoked. This one was done by Adam Wingard. He's done You're Next and The Guest. He's kind of one of the names that a lot of people think you should look out for in the horror genre, one of the up-and-comers. So when I saw that he was attached to it, I was pretty stoked. Not huge on his body of work. I liked You're Next. I didn't really care for The Guest, but I know a lot of people did. But regardless, I know the potential was there. So when I heard that he was attached, I was on board. So I'm not going to waste too much time here. I'm already sweating my ass off in this car. But the reason that I love the original film so much is that it's such a minimalistic, atmospheric experience. You literally see nothing, and the Blair Witch Project is definitely, one of the big time love it or hate it type films. I personally love it to death, but I can understand why some people don't. Regardless of whether you like it or not, you cannot deny the fact that it totally changed the horror genre. So what this film does is pretty much takes everything that worked about the original Blair Witch Project and tosses it out the window. This is much more in line, and this is what I expected, but this is much more in line with the other horror films that you see today. Just a overabundance of unnecessary, in my opinion, jump scares, just way over the top with that. And this is a much louder, more intense version of the events of the first film. I mean, apparently nowadays the Blair Witch is a lot more pissed off than she was back then. This movie is loud, a lot of stuff going on at the same time. And, whatever, that might work for some people, doesn't really work for me. Basically what's going on here is Heather from the first film, her brother, all these years later, still trying to figure out why she went disappearing in those woods, never came back. So he assembles a team, and, this is right in line with the original film. They set out to the woods, and they're filming it, except, obviously nowadays it's all HD equipment. They have drones and shit. So, the production value's, buffed up a notch. And that's fine, that didn't really bother me. Obviously 17 years later, they're not going to be making some grainy handheld documentary, so I could look past that, but there were a lot of other things I had problems with. The characters, didn't really do it for me at all. Can't really think of anything memorable with them. You just don't really care a whole lot about them. And instead of, 3 people in the woods, camping together, there's like 6 or 7 here. I feel like in this situation, the more people that are on screen, the less scary it is. When you just had 3 people kind of huddled together, not knowing what's going on, that was pretty damn terrifying. My main issue with this is that it just kind of falls in line with everything else that we see today. Everything is shown. There's no room left for the viewer to kind of decipher what they're seeing. I don't really like that. I'm not someone that needs everything shown to me, and this kind of took a lot of the mystery from the first film, and you're actually seeing the things that you always kind of had to think about. So, I don't know. Some people might dig that. I wasn't, it's whatever. It was pretty lackluster. I just kind of felt the whole thing was generic. I do have to say, though, the last 10 minutes or so, kind of a saving point for me. I didn't think it was amazing at all. Certainly not as memorable as that original film, but the ending was pretty cool. Without spoiling anything, it kind of, you end up in kind of a similar territory as they do at the end of that first film. So that was pretty cool to see. Again, though, up until that point, I was pretty low on it. Do have to say, though, the way it wraps up, I was kind of happy with that. I thought that was kind of a saving point, but it wasn't enough to mask the shittiness of the rest of the movie. Ultimately, this was a pretty lackluster film. I thought it was pretty disappointing. I was looking forward to it, but I didn't have high hopes. I kind of kept my expectations low, but, it was just whatever. I'm in no rush to watch this again anytime soon. If I had to put a grade on it, 2.5 out of 5. It was very forgettable. I have to say, though, I'm speaking as a big fan of the original Blair Witch Project. If you're someone that's not really high on that original film, and you just kind of go in watching this, as someone who enjoys, the current modern day horror movies, you might really dig this. My issue here is that, I'm obviously comparing it to the film that it's based off of, but, if you go into this as kind of its own thing, you might think it's pretty damn scary. I don't know. It just didn't really work for me. So let me know down below what you thought about Blair Witch. Curious to hear your thoughts. Make sure you check out the rest of our content on this channel. Listen to our podcast. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.